We need about 1,000 more C-47s to hang the Duvetine for the martini shot at golden hour.
Copy you. What do you feel is one of your best qualities that makes you or makes anyone an effective leader in television?
I mean, this is under the assumption I have some best qualities. It was my understanding there would be no math on this.
Well, hypothetically, you have a million great qualities.
I appreciate that.
Including, I mean, it's your personality.
Can we just talk about the first time we met?
Yeah.
Because maybe that people will understand. It was, I just come out of a meeting down at Shutters in Santa Monica. And I'm there with the four guys from The Buried Life, brilliant young men. Yeah. I'm there with Howard Owens and Mark Coops, the other team from Revly, I think the name of the company was at that time. Tony DeSanto from MTV, he's the head of MTV. And someone else from development. It was a huge, it was like a Game of Thrones big table type thing. And we were going over what the Buried Life was, a show on MTV about these four guys who created a bucket list of things they wanted to do in their life, but instead of waiting until they were dead, like the movie with Jack Nicholson, they said go after it at a young age. Great message, and super. They're great kids, or they're young men now. They're men now.
Right.
They're getting older, but it's a great show concept and a great show. We were in season 2 now. And it was, for everything they had on their list, they wanted to help a stranger along the way. Anyways, their list was extreme. It was like play ball with Barack Obama. It was streak a soccer field, crash a party at the Playboy Mansion. They had, mundane stuff, scream at the top of your lungs from a mountain. So we get to the meeting and we're like, all right, what are we going to do this season? What's on your list? And of course, it was, let's streak a soccer field. Let's do everything big. We couldn't just scream on top of a mountain. It was all these incredible things. And I remember that were really going to be hard to produce for television. Great ideas, but how do we film this? How do we get the clearance to be able to broadcast this? Because it's different than rules for YouTube or for news or for sports. They don't have the same rules that MTV or news played by. We have to get clearances. We have to have a location release, an appearance release. You can't just put anybody or any place on television. So I remember everyone felt so good at the meeting. They were having hors d'oeuvres and who knows. And everyone gets up and leaves and is shaken. I just remember thinking, my God, how are we going to pull this off? I was not feeling great. But happy there was some consensus about at least what we were doing. Anyway, so then the mission was set as a showrunner, bring that vision to life. With your creative talent, the guys from The Buried Life. And I needed a great line producer to help us manage the budget, help us execute everything. And you were one of the first people we interviewed. And you came in and you told some story about somewhere in some South American country or some crazy situation, and you had to shoot with an alligator, and you figured it out if you could just get the alligator nice and cold, or some degree of this, that it wouldn't move. And you didn't tell anybody, but you put the alligator on ice, and then when you had your talent go down and shoot with it, thankfully the talent's arm didn't get bitten off, and nobody knew. The alligator still maybe batted an eyelash. And I'm like, that's exactly what we need on The Buried Life. You got the job, and here we are now on Copy You.
What's the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you on set?
Oh, man. So, actually, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about this, and he was the AD on this show. So, my first full-time gig as a camera operator was it was a Swedish and English soap opera filmed in Miami. So it was like Megan Fox was on it when she was like a teenager.
Damn.
Rebecca Ferguson was on it. She was super young. She must have been like, I don't know, 18, 19, something like that. Wow. And so when it was Swedish actors, we'd shoot it both in English and in Swedish. Okay. And then it was any type of American actor only in English. So I get on this shoot, super green. I'm super green. I can't. So I finally get on this, and I had been day playing for a while, and my friend, who was ADing, he's like, yo, we need to bring in Kako. Let's bring in Kako. Let's, because I think they were having issues with that camera operator. And so I'm like, all right, cool, man. I'm there. I'm feeling like I made it. I could have been on, like, I don't know, a Scorsese feature for all I knew in my head. And so it's a 3-camera studio setup. And I'm like, all right, cool. And it's just these 2 people. They come into this office. They sit down. Boom. Right? And I'm like, all right, cool. And I put my eye in the viewfinder. And I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. And I don't know how. All of a sudden I come to, and no one's in the studio. And I'm like, what the fuck, it just happened? And I'm like looking around, still don't see anyone. And the producer comes in and she's like, did you just fall asleep on the camera? And I'm like, maybe. You know how like those times where you just like fall asleep? Like,
No. I run a nap. I've never fallen asleep right on set.
like
That's
that.
fantastic.
I'm telling you, first thing in the morning, I'm like caffeinated. I'm ready to go. Think like this at the eye in the viewfinder. And I come up and I'm like, it was like this like momentary lapse of like time continuum. It was
Just set.
yeah. I'm like, damn, everyone just saw me just there, passed out. They walked out.
When did you start moving, or when did you start having shows or anything that to deal with the paranormal or the supernatural? When did that start coming into your career?
I'm a fantasy guy, so I love suspending belief. So when they told me, when I got Destination Truth, which is a show about Bigfoot or Chupacabra or ghosts in exotic, dangerous locations, well, I was like, okay, what's this about?
What was like a location from that kind of, like where would you go for something like that show? Like to do ghosts or something?
It's a forest in Romania. It's a perfect circle. Nothing grows there. It's a Hayabusa forest.
Oh, okay.
And this was my first week on the job. And I get there, and it's this place where it is strange, right? And we do this thing called isolation, where each crew, because the crew is actually on camera on that show. So myself as a filmmaker, I'd be like, oh,
So they're like, okay, something in Romania or something in this country, and now you go there to just
right.
document and then be a part of it.
Right. So we go to this forest, and I was the first week, and I was in this forest sitting there in isolation. They watch me while they're in base camp, and they're like, what do you hear? And I'm out there for a half hour. Each person gets a half hour.
Yeah.
So I was out there for a half hour, and it felt like all of a sudden I felt like I was having like an acid flashback or something. Like the sky was moving, and I was like, oh, this is a trip. And I felt this like wind come down, it pushed me, and I don't remember anything else. They found me about 20 minutes later, and on camera they saw me get blown back. I was cross-legged for 20 minutes, and I just got woof into the darkness. And they found me, and I was disorientated, scared. And when they got me to, I had this itching on my arm, and I had all these itches, and there's still scars on my arm here. And it was these like claw marks, and I was like, what's this? What's going on here? And we left that. They were like, shut the kid. They were scared for me. We left that scene, and we kept going. I was like trying to put it behind. Like that was weird.
Find anything in this business that can help find faith or help find that sort of thing? Have you been able
I'm
to
trying. I want to prove to people that maybe there's magic in the world. Maybe there's something that's unexplained. Maybe there's something out there. Maybe we don't know everything.
What was your what's the biggest mistake you've ever made on a set?
Dude, I don't think I make mistakes. I think I'm perfect. Hire me.
Yeah, I'll make mistakes.
I'm sure I make a million mistakes. I mean, like, well, I kill a million cameras. I'm constantly destroying cameras. Dude, the one that, oh no, this is the one I didn't kill the camera on, but it was funny anyways. So I was Reeves tells the story a lot. And so I'll tell it like he does. He makes me sound way better than I am.
Okay.
So, where were we? Panama. So we're paddling down this channel, and from the ocean, and we're in these dugout canoes, which are not the most stable things on the planet. But I'm kind of like, okay, I feel pretty good on these things, and so like we're going this way. We're going like I'm shooting this way, and we're moving that way.
Okay.
And there's a canoe in front of me, or I guess behind the direction we're going, and I'm shooting towards them.
You're the lead camera on
I'm
that.
looking backward, and I'm like, I'm getting an okay shot sitting down in the canoe, but I'm like, it would be really good if I could just get a little higher. So I just kind of like look at my guy. I'm like, I think he's got me. So I stand up. I put the camera on my shoulder, and I'm like getting this great shot. And then all of a sudden, I'm like airborne, and I'm like, I just shifted a little bit wrong and like flipped the thing. I'm like mid-air, and I go into, I don't know, like some kind of like animal like time slows down mode, and I'm like, okay, I need to save this thing on my shoulder. And as I was like going over the boat, I just like lightly set the camera in the boat, and then like back to normal motion, like crash into the water, like destroy my walkie. But luckily it was okay. But yeah, I do kill a lot of cameras.
What's the worst GoPro you ever broke then? You ever like just whip one off the wrong way? It's like, oh, and there it goes. That's never coming back.
I try to break GoPros. They're really hard to break. I
try. You just told the line producer, like, I try to break.
I would have told you when we were working together, too.
I think you did. I think you're like, bring more. And if you don't, you're gonna be out of shots. So I copy you.
There was an episode where I was like trying really hard. We were like there was this like teetering tree that we were all like, watch out for the Widowmaker. For 21 days it was there, it was teetering. On the last day I was like, I want this shot. So I put a GoPro on a little like, Gorilla Pod, and I'm like, I need you to, and they're always carrying wood and stuff, firewood. I'm like, I need you to push this tree on top of that GoPro. And because it's like, it'd be a cool shot, right? Like someone just pushing a tree over, and then it's like cut point, or like cut to commercial. So he did. It's like fully smashed the GoPro. The GoPro went straight down into the ground. I pulled it out, and it's totally fine.
That's incredible.
It's a good product.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I did hear about a crew that fed one to a crocodile though before.
Oh, really?
And that was like they were like describing it like took it down and then like came up, and then they just watched it like crush I think it was just trying to show them that it was, better than the GoPro.
I usually whenever I usually hear them, they usually get just lost in the river. It's always somebody that just there it goes. It's like, yeah, we never find those ones. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Actually, Kip, we have a story.
Okay, let's hear the Kip.
Oh, on freaking in Ecuador, man.
What one?
In with you.
Which one? Which one did you? Yeah, I know.
On
I was there.
XL.
Wait,
3.
you guys had L&D and you didn't tell me on that shoot? No, I'm kidding. Let's hear.
I was the AC. That was probably my fault.
No, I'm kidding.
So I was camera assisting for Kip over there, and he needed a GoPro, and so I'm like, like getting the GoPro ready, and Kip's like on a boat, I think like 10 feet out in the water, and like instead of like just walk, I mean, like I was already you get wet on that show every day, right? So like instead of just like walking into the water and handing him the GoPro, I was like, and I just threw the GoPro to him, and I mean, it was a bad throw to be like. It was like.
Was it over or under?
I think it was
overthrown.
I think it was under. I think it was under, and he like reached out to grab it and almost knocked the boat over. And then for the next hour, we're like walking around like with our shoes off, trying to feel it with our feet. But then like you remember there's black palm there.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like,
so
why
now
would
we're getting
you be
like
walking in
stabbed
that?
because we're so committed. We don't want Aaron being like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, you didn't tell me about this broken GoPro 7 years after you shot the thing." That's why, Aaron. I was trying to take care of future me.
I would love if you put your foot up right now and it's just like half off, like it's completely wrecked because you're trying to find the black palms. You're still
Oh yeah,
messing
it's
it
like
up.
rotted my foot, gangrene, and yeah.
But we got the GoPro.
No, we didn't. No, we never found it. It is still in Ecuador.
I always am like, whenever I'm like doing a pack or anything like that, and right at the bat, every time a production company says, okay, we're sending you out with 20 GoPros, it was like, and you should just expect none of them to come back.
Yeah,
It's just
right.
like, they're gone, right? And they're
Right.
like, well, I just know to me, they're expendable. Like,
Totally.
they're not coming back. You know?
They should be right next to gaff tape on the line items.
What's the best thing that you've ever come up with as far as like your own engineering, like to do a boat to boat across? You ever do anything like that?
From boat to boat, no, but I do have a very fun boat to island rigging that we did in the Philippines that first time I was there, and that was, honestly very proud of it.
What'd you do? What was that?
So we got in when it was scouted. It was calm and that they could bring the boat right up. You know,
It's always when they scout, right? It's
Always,
always
yeah.
just beautiful and sunny,
Yeah,
70
they're like, it'll be great. And we roll up. There's like 5 of us on this boat.
There's a big bomb crater and then these dark
Oh yeah,
clouds.
we roll up. Waves are crashing on this. It's a rock island. There's nowhere to go. It's like the size of this room. It's not even that big of an island, and we're just all sitting there. We're watching, and we're talking to the boat guy. We're like, "Can you get the boat up to there?" And he's like, "No, what? No, of course not." We're like, "Okay." We're like, "Okay, so either we're on a time schedule,
Yep.
we have to get this done."
What are we fixing?
What
right?
are we doing here? And I think it's because we were like surrounded by this can-do attitude in the week prior, all of us just kind of look at each other like, we can figure this out, right? Everyone down to figure this out? Okay, cool, let's do it. And so me and the operator start like pulling. That was back in my early AC days where I brought everything in my backpack. Everything. Rope, paracord, carabiners, zip ties, duct tape, like literally everything. All the camera and gears in dry bags, thank God. And so we're like, okay, how are we gonna do this? And operator's like, listen, I'm gonna jump in, I'm gonna swim to that island. I'm gonna hang out over there, you're gonna throw me a rope. It's like, great. He's like, then we'll try to pull the boat in. I'm like, okay, cool. We do that, he's like, this is not gonna work. I'm like, I have these carabiners here. We could just zip line the gear to you. He's like, that might work. So I start going through my bag. I'm pulling out all these carabiners. I'm putting carabiners on the handles of the Pelican cases, on the dry bags with the cameras and stuff. And so he's on the other side. I jump in. I swim across into there, which was terrifying in and of itself.
Oh.
But, I mean, at the time, not so scary. Like, it was fine. But looking back on it, I'm like, that was kind of terrifying. I get over there. We're all soaking wet. We're like, whatever. We get over there. He's holding the rope. And the people on the boat with the gear clip, one piece of gear on at a time. They tied a piece of paracord to it and threw the paracord to me so that I could, because the rope is like tilted the wrong way, right? So I gotta pull it up. So we would just wait until the waves would get us close enough, and then they would push it on the rope, and I would just pull the paracord, and the operator's just holding the rope as tight as he can. And we did that for every single piece of gear to get it onto the rock, and then everyone one by one jumped off the boat, swam to the island, and we got on and we filmed our whole thing.
But you getting back off, were you able to get it without...
Oh no, I had to zip line it all back off. Yep. And we had to go back and do it the next morning as well.
Unbelievable.
It was absolutely incredible. I couldn't believe that we got it done.
Damn,
It
that's impressive. Again, because there's certain times where you're like, even if there's too much danger, there's too much stuff, you got to kind of stop it down. But
Yeah.
damn, you
but
were
luckily,
not stopping.
that was survival show, so
Yeah.
we have medics and stuff. So that was kind of the risk analysis I think everyone made was, okay, where are we at? How confident is everybody swimming? If people weren't confident swimming, it would have been a no-go.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, sick, love to swim, all good. We have medics. We have 3 different boats.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid we gotta get out of here. We totally can.
That's
Like,
cool.
all that stuff. And like, I had a great time. Loved doing it. One of my favorite stories, favorite videos, favorite everything. If I was presented with that today, probably not.
Fru wouldn't do it.
Probably not. Because I'm just like, I just was like, it's just too much risk. I think I was young then. I was, 20, I don't know, 23, 24. And I was like, yeah, it seems like a great idea. Let's do it.
Do you think there's more risk today than back then, or back then there's more risk than
Back
there
then
is
there was
today?
more risk.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think they're able to put more stuff in play for the crews today?
I think so. I think people are also more aware of like what is possible to like have available to you for safety.
Yeah.
I think earlier on I didn't even know that like a safety team was a thing. I was, it was like medics made sense to me. I was like, yeah, medics make sense. We should have that. But like, I don't know, back then it was kind of just roughing it.
I always talk about one of the first things I learned was you won't end up with anything besides your stories at the end of your career. What's one of your most humorous stories that you love to tell about what you've done in this business?
Probably one of the first things that I ever did, because it was just so, it was just like a wonderful introduction to show business, is that, I came out here, I did a lot of work as an unpaid PA to start with, and some of those jobs were thankless. Some of them were humiliating, and having to clean up body fluid and sets that, honestly, I never should have been convinced to do without at least receiving $100 for being there, or, God forbid, a meal. But I did it. And some of them were very helpful in that they led me to something like getting paid for a week of being a production assistant on the 75th Annual Academy Awards. So I'm there throughout the week helping provide Red Bulls and lunch breaks to the Teamsters setting up scaffolding. And then come the night of the show, my boss was like, hey, you're allowed to have a tuxedo. You can go backstage. You can hold the door open for people. You just try to stay out of other people's way, and be back here at the end of the show to help with what we do to wrap up. Like, great. Get a tux, hanging out backstage, and I'm opening the door for basically every A-list celebrity that was of relevance then. And that year, Jack Nicholson showed up with his date, Nicolas Cage. And they immediately came back outside, and they started smoking cigarettes. And then Keanu Reeves walked over to him to have a cigarette. And I only heard briefly, it was like, oh, we're working on The Matrix 2. Should we come down? And he was like a totally normal guy, but they were having this conversation amongst each other, but in very close proximity to me. But I had a tuxedo on, but I also had to wear a very large badge with my name, Christopher Robbins. And I'm trying not to make eye contact with people. I'm trying to be cool. At the time, I was, just a little starstruck with everybody. And I'm looking away. I kind of spot like Peter O'Toole in the distance. But then I hear, is that your real name? And I was like, yes. That's just great. And that was still kind of probably the coolest it's ever been for me. And everything else has been, I mean, of course there's been other moments, but having Jack Nicholson repeat your name, or at least question if that's your real name, is kind of cool.
That was my first thing when I got your information, and I think you were in Paris, as you were saying, and I had to fill in all the paperwork, right? And they're calling you Kip, so I'm like filling it in, and I got your real ID, and it's Christopher Robbins, and I'm like, and it just happens to be one of my favorite songs, right? So I'm like, Christopher Robbins, and I'm going through it. So the fact that every time, that's why I even asked today, I was like, how do you want to be introduced? Because literally, I just think of Kip, but the second we talk about your real name, the song just starts playing in the head. Always. And it's just awesome.
Thank you.
That's the best. Nobody sings Aaron Waiting songs. Is there a moment you look back on where you did something that was just like, that was embarrassing? That was like, Okay, that was a little.
I've got the perfect example, Aaron. I've got the perfect example. I was shooting a thing for PBS. It was a musical tribute show for James Taylor, and we had all these wonderful, wonderful musicians who came in to do covers of James Taylor songs. Okay. I mean, it was everybody. I mean, it was Bonnie Raitt, David Crosby, Paul Simon. It was just an incredible number of people. And there was one guy there who I have been a fan of a long time, Bruce Springsteen. And I was doing Steadicam on the show, and we had a moment where we did a sound check for the prior to the taping of the show. So all the musicians come out, they sit down. Bruce came out, brought a stool, acoustic guitar, had a mic set up, and there are 2 ramps on either side of the stage that as a Steadicam guy, I can roll up with my rig and get a shot on the stage. Well, I am such a crazy fan that I did a crazy fan thing. But I don't know if I regret it, because it gave me a moment where it was just Bruce and me on the stage. And I can say today, I was with Bruce Springsteen on the stage. So what I did, Aaron, is I ran up one ramp, and then without any direction from my director, ran up on the ramp and went right next to Springsteen, parked the camera right there, just probably the lens about 3 feet from his head as he's playing, doing his Bruce thing and singing. And I'm there, and my knees are probably shaking a little bit. And you're supposed to be steady when you're doing Steadicam, naturally. I mean, you think, right? Anyway, in my ear and my headset, I get a little voice from the director saying, Steve, we probably won't be doing that in the show. You can leave now. And I went, okay. And I left. But it was one of the stupidest things, but I had to take the moment to do it, because I just love that guy. I've seen him for since 1975, and just recently saw him for about the 13th time at the Forum recently in LA. So, but yeah, I will always remember that. But people were probably going, "What an idiot! That guy, I know what he's doing." They knew what I was doing,
What was the best meal that you've ever had? Whether it was after hours or anything, what was the best meal that you ever got taken into?
So this has 2 parts to that. I'll make it very quick.
No, take your time.
We're in Paris. It's Mark Wahlberg's 44th birthday, and he invites us all to his favorite restaurants, La Louis. And it's a little alley somewhere, and in the group, it's me and the showrunner from the show. It's John McEnroe, the tennis player. It's Jimmy Butler, who plays for the Heat. And it's E, his manager. We're all sitting there, and the menu is fixed. The chef will do it because Mark. So we go down the wine cellar, and Mark loves great wines. So he's picking out like Chateau Le Monde and a Rothschild this, and we're bringing up bottle after bottle of this amazing stuff. The food's coming out, it's incredible, and we're eating and going just saying this is what it's all about, So I look over, and E, there is Mark's E from Entourage. He looks at me and he goes like this, like God, and I'm like, what? And he goes. And I turned to the showrunner and I go, I think he said he wants me to pay for dinner. And I just get this cold sweat, because I'm thinking each bottle is probably X and Y. And I thought this was a birthday. So I'm factoring it. Bill comes and I go over to E and I said, what's up? He goes, Mark wants the TV show to pay for dinners. I go, he does? He goes, yeah. I go, okay. Look at the bill. It's $27,000. And as a line producer, you can imagine that's wiping out. I'm just going through my mind as wipes out audio, wipes out secondary shoots, and so on. So I'm just literally reaching for my American Express. And the chef, Mame Louis, the owner, comes out, and he's this just gorgeous guy. Comes out with these red cheeks. And he goes, Mark, you're like a son to me. Happy birthday. Tonight, the dinner is on me. Right? And I look over at E, and I'm like, let's go get another bottle of that Rothschild. That was an escape from the greatest meal to the worst experience to like, give me another one of those.
I was thinking that in the movie version of that,
Yeah.
you just see you like in a smash cut running and hugging the chef, like just grabbing him, like tackling him to hug him.
$27,000. Like I just knew at that point I'm running a fast lane here that
The second you said he did this, because I'm like, again, being the live producer on set, all this stuff, I can't tell you.
No.
Every time I've gone out for dinner, I'm looking around and somebody's like,
Yeah.
you're like,
I know.
right here.
Like, and then I'm just doing the mental math, like, okay, that's gotta be, I think we're like,
Did you order the chicken? I think you got the chicken.
That was always the funniest thing. Even with you, I've had to a couple of times, and that's what I liked about working for you. You were always like, look, paper it. But if you got to do what you got to do it. But paper it. You can't just go out and cash. If you are doing anything, like, be good about it. But I remember we were doing a shoot. Again, I'm not going to tell the name of the show because I don't want the thing. But I'm down in South America somewhere, and you call me and say, the network has decided we need a security plan. And we have to get guys with guns, and we have to have like 24/7 roaming AK-47s because of like jungle militia and all this shit.
They were 20 miles
and I'm
away.
like, I got 3 hippies over here in this. Like, they haven't seen a gun in this area in 30 years. If I bring guns in to this area, like, they're gonna shut down. Like, they have you, and you were like,
Because guns attract guns.
yeah, and they're like they would think we're nuts, and they're not gonna. And if they see us spend money on that, they're gonna take advantage and go, oh, well then, and I'm gonna
They
have
have
boat
unlimited
drivers.
funds.
Yeah, I mean, why would you even? So, I was sitting there all night, like, what am I gonna do? And you were like, and I love that about you. You were like, look, it's not us. It's you have like it is an insurance thing. It is this is that. You have no choice. Nobody has a choice. So figure it out, produce it. And I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I was like, and you were like, look, they're willing to give us like, let's say it was 10 grand or whatever. So go ahead. Like, I was like, okay. So what I did was I had you wire the money down for the 10 grand. And then me and the fixer went and I hired these 2 guys to dress this thing with the guns. I took them all around. I took the pictures and I wrote up a whole fake plan. And then I took the 10 grand. I did barbecues every week for the crew. I literally was like,
God,
okay,
you're
go over
telling me
there,
this now.
take a picture. And I was like, put the gun up higher. It's like, all right, by the boat. It was like, okay, go.
Were they at least real guns?
Yeah, for the pictures, yeah. And then I wrote up like, oh yeah, they're going to do a perimeter walk every 24/7, and here's your 6 guys, and and I wrote up the whole plan. You're like, great. Discovery went great. Here's your money. And I lined up, and the next day I bought like beef and hot dogs and beer, and I just had the biggest barbecue right there. And we just did one every week. I was like, fuck, if you guys are going to do it, fair enough. I'll take it. You were just talking about the way you said Naked and Afraid and it being real. Mm-hmm. And I will say that of all the shows I've worked on, that's probably close to one of the most real shows I've ever worked on. Yeah. You said it with a little bit of pride and a little bit of a smile there. And it just kind of got me thinking, what in your career are you most proud of? What are you most proud of that you've done?
There was an episode of Naked and Afraid that I'm still very proud of. It was in Africa. It was, I think because it was an episode where all the crew came together and did the right thing, that would be the episode I'd be most proud of. I really liked my Behind the Musics. I really liked some of my pop culture documentaries because they were really good. I did Behind the Music Sticks, which Rolling Stone said was one of the best.
Dennis DeYoung.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I love Dennis.
And it's awesome. It's funny and it moves, and so I'm very proud of that show. But we had a. You can always get into the doldrums when you're doing something real, and a 40-day show. There's going to be doldrum days, and you have to accept that. But our cast was kind of getting into the doldrums a little bit. It was day 28 out of 40. So most of the cast that's there, at that point there were 8 of them. Most of them knew, like, it's day 28, I've made it, 7/10 of the way. I'm probably gonna finish. But they're hungry and they're still sleeping in the dirt and they're dealing with ticks and all this stuff. But so one guy really felt like he was spinning his wheels. He wasn't getting along with the rest of the cast. He wasn't agreeing with them being a little bit lazy. And you get lazy. You're almost fainting sometimes. But so he wanted to go out on his own. And I'm again always trying to think, how is what's happening in front of me in the field going to translate for an editor and for an audience? And I thought, he wanted to go off on his own. Normally you wouldn't allow that. You don't have the facilities, you don't have the rangers, you don't have medics. But I thought, this is going to be better for the show if he goes off on his own. So I scouted this route that he could do on his own. And along the way, our ranger said, oh, wow, there's some woolly caperbush fruits. Those are really delicious. You can eat them. And we had to kind of climb under these thorny vines to get one. But it was almost too rich. It tasted like, and this is in Africa where there's very little fruit. It tasted like a raspberry smoothie. It was it's silky in the mouthfeel and that sweet and fruity, and it was almost too much. It was weird. It was like a burst of fruit and sugar that you weren't used to. And this is for people that are eating. He kills a monitor lizard on the way down, and he finds the fruits kind of off the same vine we did. And he ate them, and they were amazing and delicious. And he was and you could see the sugar going through his body after having no sugar for almost 28 days. And we thought, okay, great. We got that scene. He got his sugar. He has this monitor lizard he's killed. He's going to set up a new camp in a new place. Let's keep going. Then he goes, oh, there's that fruit again. And he points to a tree that we'd never saw before. And he goes and he just goes a little berserk. He eats 10 of these fruits and saves a lot more. But you can't blame him. You can't stop him. The guy's been starving for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And so then I'm with him and a camera's with him, and we're a very small crew. And then we leave him for the day, and we put another person in charge of him to watch, to film him and stuff like that. And we get a report late at night that he is in debilitating pain, very sick, might need to be tapped out. So we send the medics in, and he does a great job of capturing all this on his own camera, diary cam. And we look at the footage, and it's agonizing. He's at death's door. He says, I'm 9 out of 10 pain. And then he's hearing lions roar in the distance. He's in this new shelter. He's way too close to the river. There's lions. He's got this great shelter right up against a cliff, but he's in serious pain, and he hears lions. And we have to take him out and we have to hospitalize him. But we think it's because he didn't cook the monitor lizard enough. Because again, I ate 3 of the fruits. I didn't have any problems with the fruits. The rangers were eating. We were all eating the fruit. He gets horribly sick. The next day, the rest of the cast makes a similar move. And they also come to the tree that he found. And again, we're not telling them not to eat him because we think he's sick as a monitor lizard. There's 7 of these people now. They all eat the fruit. One woman says she didn't like the taste of it. She put it down. The rest of them eat the fruit. And then that day, the 2 of the guys found evidence that Ryan had eaten the fruit and got sick. They were running back and telling people, hey, don't eat the fruit. Because they don't know. They don't know whether it's the monitor lizard or the fruit still at this time. And then one by one, they all start getting horribly sick. And they all 2 of them go to the medic tent. I get the best shot I've ever gotten with an iPhone of 2 of these really sick people holding hands in the medic tent. But we think, oh my God, they're really sick. They might have to be hospitalized. We go away. They call us back at 8 at night, in the middle of the night in Africa. Sorry, more like 10 at night. And they say, this one girl, Phaedra's got to go to the hospital. We're loading her into the ambulance when we get a walkie call from the rest of there's 4 cast members left. Sorry, 5 cast members left down at the bottom, because this one guy, Ryan's already been left. There's 2 people in the med tent. There's 5 in cast camp who were fine when we left a few hours before. This woman is screaming. She had handmade clothes and everything. She's ripping her clothes up because she's so hot, screaming in pain. There's lions roaring. The rangers are looking nervous. And I'm thinking, what have I done? What is going on here? I told them they could eat this fruit. These guys didn't have any monitor lizard. They ate the fruit. Something's wrong with that fruit. So we have to go down. The rangers are nervous as hell. They've got their guns on their shoulders because these lions are hearing this roar, and they're hearing a woman roaring like that, screaming like that. Sounds like a warthog in distress to them, which is like dinner time. And so we go back the next day. We try to keep the one guy in. His eyes go pure yellow with jaundice. They all have gastritis. The doctors don't know what's wrong with it. They don't know what's wrong with the fruit. We can't figure out there's nothing in Wikipedia even on the fruit. They're saying something that the roots are toxic, but they weren't eating the roots, they were eating the fruit. And again, all our rangers are saying, no, we eat that fruit all the time. So, but we're still thinking the other 4 are going to be on death's door and we're going to lose our show. None of those other 4 got sick. We ended up having to tap the guy that got jaundice. So 4 people are out because of the fruit. 4 people are left. We have another 10 days of the show left. But we did everything right when we filmed it. We had the camera guys came back out again at night after they had gone home for the night and taken a shower. They come back out at 8:30 at night and we're filming everything. The ambulance crew worked great. The rangers worked great. The PAs worked great. The local fixers worked great. Sean Foley and I are there. We're working really well together. And we get the people that need to get safe. And then the other 4 don't get sick. And they last the rest of the time. But then we bring it to edit, and we edited it in a beautifully constructive way. And your heart is bleeding for these people, but you're so sorry for who goes out so suddenly and how sick they are. But you're rooting so much for the 4 people to stay, and you're wondering, are they going to stay? Are they going to be safe from this fruit? Are they going to be safe from the lions that are circling their boma every night? And it's an hour-long show, and it's the best hour I've ever made. So.
Nice.